Hi again. This is Olivier from the Oak Island Research Channel. In this section, we're going to study together the La Rochefoucauld map, and I'm going to explain you the beginning, how it all happened. And again, people who've been following the earlier video, you know a lot about this, but I'm going to, instead of doing it in 2 hours time by discovering bit by bit, I'm going to do a synthesis here on how all that started. All that started 10 days ago. I've had that La Rochefoucauld map for about 2 years in my hand. I don't know when it came out, and we were the first time to see it. I think 2.5, 3 years ago. And as I was already interested in Oak Island, that I found it very peculiar. And I'm French, and I couldn't read what's in there. And that sentence here was nonsense to me. It was full of grammatical error, as it is in the whole document, and it didn't mean anything to me. And people was reading it. Ce dessin pour Monsieur François La Rochefoucauld, un petit verre d'apronustria. I heard crazy thing about this sentence. D'apronustria meaning to learn from somebody. No, it doesn't. It sounds like apronust, which was an old way of saying learning from somebody, but tria has never been there, and the spelling wouldn't have been that. And one of the first remarks I said dot to dot on our first community, on our first talk, was that the way I read it, being French, saying "Sept dessins pour Monsieur François La Rochefoucauld, un petit verre." Period. There's a dot, it finishes there, there's a cross, that's the end of the sentence. And d'apronustria came on top and doesn't mean anything. So all that was very, very, very strange. And you'll see that that was my starting point. It was Sunday a week ago, not 3 days ago, but a week ago. I tell that story every time. I was on the couch. I just watched a dot to dot video, and I was playing with La Rochefoucauld map and trying to make anagrams out of letters, rearranging letters to find your word. And my wife next to me said, "What you doing? I see you're scrapping on your piece of paper." And I went, "Well, you're not going to be interested. It's a treasure hunt. It's Oak Island, and you don't know about it." And she went, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not interested." But she was looking over my shoulder and said, "What?" Then she said, "What are you looking at? What sentence?" I'm like, "This sentence." She looked at it, and 6 seconds later, she said, "That's an Alexandrian." I thought it was 14, but it's actually 12 verses, 12 syllables. An Alexandrian in poems. Sept dessins pour Monsieur François La Rochefoucauld, 12. And I looked at her. I think she saw my face and she still remembers. I'm like, "Are you serious?" And she said, "Yeah, this is an Alexandrian. This is a verre." Because in French, the verb or the sound verre can be used in many different spellings and meaning, like I wrote here. And we're going to come across a lot of them in this riddle. And what this says there, when you read it first without any interpretation, it says a glass. Verre, V-E-R-R-E, is a glass. And then my wife just told me, well, maybe it's a glass, but it's definitely a verset, a verre. And I already saw some weeks before that V was not stuck to R, and R, E-R-R-E, in French means to wander without a purpose. And yet V, R, which could mean a little V, the sign or the letter, wander with no purpose on the map. And that struck me. So I felt something was wrong with that V separated, and it could be a V. And I looked on the map. I was looking for V's, little V's, tiny V's. Couldn't find any. Now I know where they are. I know exactly the number, and I know what they used for. But at the time, I couldn't. So it came like this. So my wife was telling me, and it was true, that the same beginning of the sentence could provoke un petit verre to drink, but was definitely a verre. And then the V seemed to be very important in that story. So, just like set, by the way, here, which should be normally ce dessin in French, proper French, somebody added TTE for no reason. It's a grammatical error. We'll see there is a reason. But it also means set, 7, the same sound. The top sound is set, the second sound is set, same. And very often in French, you can find that with a word, you can have very, very different words spelled differently, but that sound exactly the same, which of course causes confusion in our everyday language in French. And last thing I noticed is that the top 2 lines each got 26 letters. And if you didn't have TTE for set, you wouldn't have 26 letters. Is there a purpose? I haven't found it yet. And it's one of the very first thing I noticed. I counted the letters, and there was 20 letters on each line, but I couldn't. And then there's that sign here. So that was my first analysis with my wife. And then what I did is I linked that V, which was very strange, and I tried to follow exactly the contour so that I would hit exactly my V. And I noticed it was coming straight to the center of that compass, that cross. And I found it very, very interesting. It was a coincidence and a very strange one because I didn't expect the V to be that straight or that easily aligned. And that's the only thing I did that day. And then I was still searching the ver. And then later on, say, okay, I connected one V. Let's connect all the V's and see what it gives. Well, it gives on the right-hand side that I got a parallel line from V of travail, almost parallel. And on the left-hand side, I've got the V of voûte, that's giving me this line on top, and the V of ne vous allez ici, which gives me that line. And I didn't know what to do with it. I thought it was nice. And then I tried stupid things. I tried to move in parallel and do manual imaginary section of the document and moving some lines somewhere like this one. What if I move it here? Do I hit? Yeah, oh, yeah, I do. I do hit exactly the both tip. And then I thought it would separate that part of the riddle to the right-hand side because I would isolate south. Anyways, I was just playing. I didn't have any method. And that's what dot to dot forced me to do. Here's my V. Oops. Let me put it back right on. All right. You know what? I'm on PowerPoint. I'll just Control V. Here we go. So looking for a method, right? But before I went to the method, I found other alignments. Dot to dot told me, well, you got two very specific marks, and your V is aligned with that hash thing at the bottom. Why don't you connect the only two cross you got, the top right corner cross and the bottom cross? And I did that. And if I zoom, that's where I realize if you connect to that cross on the left, you hit the blue line from the V of travail. Maybe the line is not exactly aligned. Now that I zoom, I will redo it. But that's the idea. Here we go. And it crosses even better. And I really didn't know what to make of those lines. But I kept on drawing lines of things I could see. The next thing I could see is that those lines, at least R, D, and L, were almost aligned. And T there should be in the place. So I drew that left line. And on the right-hand side, A, E, and E are somewhat aligned too. 3 letters, so I did that one too. I had no clue what I was doing. I was just connecting lines. And I was thinking it was neat. It was looking like a little treasure map with a cross there, and maybe that's where the treasure. I had no clue where I was going. It's only when dot to dot reached to a certain stage in his video, and I cannot remember what video it was, that I had a flash, and I saw that line. This one here, which I call the backbone, because all my drawings will be using that line from now on. I call it the backbone. You'll see we give it another name in a second. And that line that's got an angle that the V then crosses in the middle. And I look at dot to dot's video and I saw the same thing on what he was drawing. So I was like, daring enough, let's try. I took my map, I turned it, folded it many times, trying to find the right angle. I stretched it lengthwise, heightwise, to really try to make something neat out of it. And what I found was that's where it all started. I found out, and I'm going to play with the transparency so you can see what I mean. There you go. So that's my map, and when I put it on the construction that dot to dot made, I'm almost, you see, that's Nolan's cross in black. That's my backbone line. My backbone line was almost, and it's just a visual alignment that I did, almost aligned. And then I got my V, the first V I found to the center of the cross, that's that line. That's an east-west Yeah, that's the east-west line. That's the east-west line. It's just from the island on the left. I'll show you in a second. You draw a pure 90-degree line, and you end up on that line. And then I had some interesting things on the right-hand side starting to appear. It seems something was happening in this region, but I couldn't hit that point, which is the money pit. And I see that line was so it was somewhat aligned to that point, but the rest was off, and I couldn't make any. I saw that there's that cross here at the top of the triangle I could make with the bateau, and if I cross the southern bark with the cross, the cross to cross line, I would somewhat reach the south anchor. And at the same time, it was really not satisfying, and at the same time, it was amazing. It was not perfect, but there was something in there. And I knew that to arrive at this, I had lines that I drew from visual alignments, nothing calculated. And I didn't have any scale. I stretched my map the best way I could to make all that fit. And I didn't have the right orientation. I mean, everything was wrong. And still, it looked like something. I mean, that crossing on the top, the alignment with the Nolan cross, the alignment with the east-west line, and if I zoom out, you will see I got another alignment that is, remember my V, that's the V from Ne vous allez ici, that green line on top. Well, that V, I just pushed it, and it hits right that island and crosses the east-west line, or if you want this line, which is mine, I would need to push it a bit. Due to the imprecision, I'm somewhere there, right? But again, when we'll be dealing with precise metrics, orientation, and scale, you'll see it fits perfectly. And so that was an interesting feature. And that was the first hint that we should carry on, and that we should find a process, because those lines, it's not you look at them, you invent them, and it works. There must be a set of instruction in the document to create those lines precisely. And the other thing I was wondering is what to do with the other lines on the other end, on the other side, the green one, because they don't connect to anybody. And all that will be revealed in our next episode. So I'll let you sleep with that one. Think what you think. But there seemed to be some kind of matching between what's appearing on the Rochefoucault map and what's appearing on the Oak Island overlay. And let me remind you that overlay is based on, as I said in introduction, in black is reliable points, because you have the Nolan cross that we still can see, and the rest of these points, including the money pit and the anchors, are coming from Nolan's survey. I may have made a mistake on my introduction video number 0. The other thing we knew was the anchor stone. They were known, but that's part of Nolan's survey, right? So I only half omitted to mention it. Peter's triangle was part of Nolan's survey and the anchor stone. And I'll let you think for this, and then we'll move on and carry on in the next video, trying to find out how do you get those connection points. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget Dot to Dot's channel, and if you're happy and want more, just subscribe and be happy to show more. Thank you. Bye-bye.